Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. We're always talking to leaders and entrepreneurs about how to deal with this economy, how to adapt. And I've been fortunate, and we've all been fortunate over the last 6 months to speak regularly with Hindell Grossman, owner of Grossman and Associates, a law firm here in the Boston area. And, we tend to speak about women in leadership. Welcome back, Hindell.
Thank you, Jeffrey. How are you?
Good, thank you. Well, leadership is a topic I have to deal with every day with all my clients and trying to, get them to understand what it means to be a leader, step up, and make those decisions. So I'm looking forward to our talk as well.
Thank you. There's always a lot to talk about on this topic. And in fact, today I thought we'd talk about what happens when there's no leadership, when companies turn into disarray or struggle to continue forward without any guidance. And so the absence of it really highlights the importance of leadership and what happens with a good leader.
That's interesting. I do see an absence at times, but not by design.
Right. Sometimes people just check out. It's
Right.
It's like I say to my kids, don't let life just wash over you. Take charge of it and make decisions and move it forward the way you want it to, because otherwise it'll just, push you in directions you may not want. So same with businesses.
So do you see any trends about when this happens? What's going on for people when these things happen?
These things meaning nothing?
A lack of leadership.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, entities have their own, I don't say personality, but they have their own energy or lack of energy. And I suppose if there's no one there kind of directing which direction the company goes in or what opportunities they take and which ones they pass up, and motivate people, and someone to look at the finances, someone to look at the structure of the organization, someone to look at the marketing, the environment they're in, it just potentially could flounder. I mean, an entity will survive for a while without much direction, but eventually the absence of leadership will take its toll, I believe. And the energy levels will decline, and it will just turn into something else. Maybe not the most desirable or high functioning organization.
Well, let me tell you about, just off the top of my head, 3 types of situations that I come across and see what you think, where this happens, this lack of leadership. One, or I'll text you about 4. I'll tell you 4. One, it's when people sort of have personal stress on their personal lives, which you see, which distracts them from the business, which is not good. And I'm sure you see that a lot in your practice from clients. One, just 2, they lose focus. In other words, a lack of mission or goals for people. So there's sort of a floundering in that area. And then when it becomes about personalities and competitiveness about personalities, or when it becomes about money. So these all lead, for me, or tend to be symptomatic of companies that sort of lose that sort of leadership for situations.
Yeah, I can see all of those happening. I mean, when people get divorced, if they're in leadership roles, or obviously their focus is not on the business for that period of time. Getting divorced is a part-time job. So when they're focused on emotions or worry or fear, yeah, they're not going to be great leaders for that period of time, even though that hopefully that business opportunity will continue on way beyond the divorce. The focus will be lost for a period of time. Those are 4 interesting topics. Distraction, obviously, divorce would be one of those kinds of distractions. Loss of focus might be just losing interest for a while. I mean, everybody, I think, loses their energy for something for a period of time and need to be re-energized in some way. Right?
Right. There is an ebb and flow of energy.
Yeah. How do you recommend people get I'll call it their mojo back?
Well, I think staying hungry is the key. And, what I notice from leaders who've been able to do this over an extended time, they don't take things for granted, and they jump out of bed every day. They always have that energy. They don't take the business for granted. They never sort of reach their ultimate objective. And that's why I talked about losing focus or a goal or a mission. And, it doesn't make a difference if you have, $1 million, $10 million, $100 million. It's not about money. Some people do lose focus after a while because they lose sight of the goals. Some people call it fat, dumb, and happy.
So it's important to have goals. I'm sure you're good at helping people reframe, have goals and then reframe goals as the needs change or the environment changes.
Well, I work with everybody, both on a macro and a micro level, to have goals. I think goals are
Yeah.
important. I think
Yeah.
renewal goals are important. I think setting milestones are important. You see that, people who are constantly hungry, you look at these world of sports, and they're constantly not taking things for granted and staying hungry over an extended period of time. Who do we know better about that in New England than Tom Brady?
Hmm.
It's always, he never loses the hunger for the win.
Yeah. He's certainly focused. Yeah. On
Definitely.
achieving his goal. Yeah. And motivated. I think motivation is really important because you can lose motivation when you hit roadblocks. It's so easy to just get discouraged. But leaders overcome those roadblocks, and I guess endure those times when they feel discouraged as
Well,
part of the journey.
there's another part, and I think Tom Brady reminds me of that, and that is most people don't know what it means to win. And Tom
Hmm.
Brady knows what it means to win. And once you've won, it becomes addictive. And
Hmm.
you've won cases, so you know what
Hmm.
it's like to win. And once you've won, you don't accept anything else but a win ever again. And so maybe Tom Brady, in moving to Tampa, he was more focused on winning than he was on being a Patriot. And I can understand that because winning is addictive.
Yep, I can see that with him and with others, wanting to achieve and having those goals and meeting them. Yeah, goals are important. And the third point you made about personality, well, that's probably, I would say, almost the biggest reason that companies don't thrive. Maybe not the biggest, but one of the biggest, one
It's
of the
always
four.
about it's
Sure.
always about people.
Yeah.
And as you know, as I learned early in my career, the fish rots from the head down. If you don't have a leader with the right headspace, you start to see cracks throughout the organization all the way down. And the leader that
Yeah.
doesn't know themselves well tends to point their finger at others, and that just creates more disharmony and a lack of ability and a lack of
Mm.
focus.
So which of these four things that you mentioned, distraction, loss of focus, personality issues, and money issues, do you think are the hardest to cure?
Uh, Well, when the personalities get in the way. So if there's
Yeah.
competition amongst people, because that
Yeah.
talks about ego issues, insecurities, all the, the deadly sins. And once people sort of get ensconced in this sort of personality competitiveness and they lose the focus of the business, it's almost impossible to extract them out of it.
Yeah. It's a bad cycle.
I always say to people, this really isn't long work for me. You're making it long because
Uh-huh.
they get stuck in a habit, and habits
Uh-huh.
are hard to break.
Yeah, we definitely know that. And for a leader, it's a really, well, for people, it's hard to change, but particularly for a leader, I guess they should be motivated to change because they can see the cracks in the organization as a result of their personality or the conflict within. They should be motivated to change more, but it's very hard to do that unless
Well,
you're there with them all the time and pointing it out. You,
a business is not, it's not an annuity. And, if you don't keep feeding the business will die. And there's no
Mhm.
guarantee in someone's life that they're going to have more than one business that succeeds. And if you're
Mhm.
lucky enough to grow a great plant, to plant great seeds and build a tree and grow a tree, don't cut it down so fast because it's not so easy to plant another tree.
Uh-huh. Well, you have great imagery, Jeff.
Well, you
Important
do.
to grow a good tree.
I'm not that smart, but when you do it every day for 35 years, you
Yeah.
have a lot of
Well,
experiences.
good leaders see trends too,
Right, right.
right? You can step back and see things.
Everybody, we've been speaking with Hindell Grossman, owner of Grossman and Associates, a leader herself, who's been dealing with leadership in her own organization and with people in the leadership position her whole career. Sorry about that stumbling around there. Hindell, if someone were looking for you, how would they find you?
I'm in Newton. My name is Hindell, Hindell. There aren't that many, so you can certainly put that in and find me pretty easily. The phone number is 617-969-0069. And of course, I have a website, which is Grossman Ltd. The firm is Grossman and Associates.
That's
That's
great.
how best way to find me.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in, Radio Entrepreneurs, and remind them that we're going to continue with stories about leadership and entrepreneurship throughout the year. And we got a lot of year ahead of us with a lot of changes and a lot of leadership challenges. And Hindell
Hopefully
will
a
be
lot of
joining us.
changes this year.
Yep. So remind everybody, stay tuned in for more stories on Radio Entrepreneurs.